This is your Friday's weather sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, this is Tim.
Do y'all sell bait?
Yes, we seasonally stock live shrimp, live bull minnows, live sand fleas, live fiddler crabs, earthworms, night crawlers, crickets. We also stock frozen shrimp, sand fleas, mullets, squid, pre-rigged ballyhoo, bonita, stingray, cigar minnows, Boston mackerel, Spanish mackerel, and a few other miscellaneous baits. It's worth the drive to buy premium locally sourced bait from Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, located directly off Highway 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach.
Our connections make powerful things happen, uniting individuals and communities. We are Rotary. We are people of action. And together, we turn great ideas into reality by accessing our networks, our experience, and the best of ourselves to make a difference. Around the world, Rotary brings leaders together to build new friendships and to solve problems. Like in Austria, where generations work side by side to build sustainable housing and community centers. In India, volunteers run a mobile blood bank to help provide a steady blood supply for their local community. And in Taiwan, people are working hard to get vulnerable citizens the support and services they need. With over 1 million members, we know what people can do when they come together. Take action with us. Find out more at Rotary.org/action.
I am an American soldier.
I'm a warrior and a member of a team.
I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values.
I will always finish first.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never quit.
I will never leave a fallen comrade.
I am disciplined.
I am disciplined.
Physically and mentally tough.
Trained and proficient in my warrior tasks and drills.
I'm an expert and I'm a professional.
I stand ready to deploy, engage, and destroy the
enemies of the United States of America in close combat.
I am a guardian of freedom and the American way of life.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
There's strong, and there's Army strong. See what it takes at GoArmy.com.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. Joe, the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Are you ready?
Okay, let's begin.
Trip. The Afternoon Underdog Trip. Live and local. Inside the Talkhouse.
Unleash the dragon.
On the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
What's going on, Northwest Florida? You are now riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, ESPN Northwest Florida. I'm David Hayes along with Caveman Rick and the Bone Crusher. This is 104.3 Panama City and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. Beautiful Friday afternoon. And of course, this is a sports station, but we wouldn't even be talking sports without our veterans. Today is a special day. It's Veterans Day, and on this day, we honor the brave men and women who have served our country in the military. You guys, you can give us a call or text today at 850-215-6290 if you have a veteran you would like to shout out. If you are a veteran and you want some airtime, then feel free to give us a call. We'll dive into the guest here in a second, but I just wanted to give you guys a very happy Veterans Day, because without you, again, we would not be sitting here talking sports. Got a little bit more about some athletes who were veterans themselves, but I wanted to give the floor to Caveman Rick to give a couple of shout-outs to his people.
Appreciate it. Dave, I echo everything that you just said, so I won't waste time going into that again. But I myself didn't serve in the military as active duty. I was a dependent as a child, so had my part in it one way or the other. But I wanted to say thank you to first off my sister and brother-in-law who served just recently in the Air Force. Then after that, my dad, who did as well. That's why I was a dependent, obviously. My grandfather, who he served in the Air Force as well. He was lucky; he never got to see any combat. He served up in Greenland, so good for him. Love you, Grandpa. And then my pop-up, he saw a time in World War II, Pacific Theater, got a couple Purple Hearts in areas of like Guadalcanal, New Caledonia, if anybody knows where that's at. And then big ups to my great-grandpa Crum, who was in World War II also. And, man, like, he saw some stuff, too. Like, I don't know if anybody, lots of people seen the movie Saving Private Ryan.
Right.
The start of that movie does nothing justice to what actually happened to those guys on that day, and he was there that day, and he survived. So big ups to Grandpa Crum. I know if my grandma's listening, she probably is my grandpa right now. They're probably thinking about him as well. So love you guys, and we're thinking about him as well.
Yeah, to everyone who served, we definitely appreciate your service, be it current, in the past, whatever way, we appreciate it. And I have to give a special shout out to my Papa Jack as well, who served in the military. And man, what a man. What a man.
They don't make people like they used to, like those people I was just mentioning. So big ups to that, too. Unfortunately, we're a lot softer nowadays, but those are some hard people back then.
Hey, hard times make hard people. That's for sure. We'll take a look here at some of this is from veteran.com, and so I wanted to take a look at some athletes who were also in the military, and we'll start with boxer Joe Louis, who was a pioneer. He was also an activist as well, and as a championship boxer, and he was enlisted in the Army. He was known as the Brown Bomber. He was the world heavyweight champion from 1937 to 1949, and his accomplishments during this time included winning 26 championship fights. He enlisted in the Army in 1942, and he was seen as a golden opportunity for military recruiters and was part of a push to get more African American soldiers into the ranks. He took full advantage of his opportunities to help his fellow soldiers of color while in uniform. His efforts including fighting delays that kept people of color out of officer candidate school. The effort benefited none other than Jackie Robinson. And also, by the time that Lewis received his honorable discharge in 1945, he was awarded the Legion of Merit. Joe Louis was a very important figure in American sports history, American military history, and was also crucially important figure in the civil rights during his era. Over to baseball, Ted Williams. When it came to Ted Williams, the answer was being a Marine when it came to what's worth giving up 5 years of Major League Baseball. He was a Marine pilot and flight instructor in not one but 2 wars. He enlisted in 1942 at the age of my age right now, 32. He was destined to be a flight instructor during World War II. 10 years later, he was called to serve in the Korean War, and he flew 39 combat missions. An inner ear problem took him to the ground, grounded Williams, and he lost his flight status. But he did gain the opportunity to earn all-star status back in the major leagues. He earned that title with 17 times. He earned that title 17 times, and he had a 21 year. So 17 out of 21 years, he was an all-star for the Boston Red Sox. Batted over 400 in a single season. People are still trying to get back to that number, and was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1966. He died in 2002 at the age of 84. Jackie Robinson was drafted in 1942. He was accepted into officer candidate school and commissioned as a second lieutenant. He suffered the fate many soldiers of color who were subject to the bad old days of military. This, according to the veteran.com here, which this is a great article on these famed athletes who were also in the military, but subject to the bad old days of military and societal discrimination, he was court-martialed in 1944, which I've had some buddies who knew people who were court-martialed. Not a very good thing, but he was court-martialed for refusing to move to the back of a bus operated by the U.S. Army. The same year, Jackie Robinson, in 1947, when he was honorably discharged, in that same year, he scored a major first. He is noted by historians as the first major league player of color to hit the major leagues and ultimately earned Rookie of the Year. Jackie Robinson went on to 6 All-Star titles, the 1949 National League MVP, and he was also a World Series champion. Hall of Famer Jackie Robinson, as we all know, has his number 42 retired by every Major League Baseball team in America. That was back in 1997. He passed away in 1972. Yogi Berra, for our New York sports fans, he was one of the most famous New Yorkers in all of sports. He was considered among the greatest catchers in baseball history. Long before his induction to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1972, Yogi Berra was a member of the U.S. Navy from 1944 to 1945. He served during the invasion of Normandy. On D-Day, he launched rockets against Axis positions at Omaha Beach as Seaman Second Class Berra. Yogi Berra died in 2015. He earned accolades as a seaman, a professional baseball player, and ultimately as an activist. During his lifetime, he earned a Purple Heart, a Distinguished Unit Citation, 2 Battle Stars, and a European Theater of Operations. Pat Tillman. He had a good career in the NFL, but his run with the Cardinals came to an end when he enlisted in the Army in 2002. Why did he get into the military? Because of 9/11. He reportedly said no to more than $3 million in pro sports contracts to serve there in Iraq and Afghanistan. Tillman earned a spot in the 75th Ranger Regiment, but died while serving in a friendly fire incident in 2004. Some sources report that Pat Tillman was the first pro football player to die in combat since the Vietnam era. This one I didn't know, and it's funny, they call him the Admiral. David Robinson, for a time, was the face of certain U.S. Navy recruiting efforts. Robinson attended the Naval Academy, but actually considered quitting because his height may have restricted his career opportunities as an officer. It's rare that someone might be too tall for military service, but this was a concern in the earliest days of his military career. The Secretary of the Navy allowed Robinson to be commissioned as a staff officer in the Civil Engineer Corps and served as an active duty commitment of 2 years. He served at Naval Submarine Base Kings Bay in Georgia. The San Antonio Spurs drafted Robinson as a first-round draft pick in 1987, and even though Robinson wasn't free and clear of his U.S. Navy commitment, he finished his Navy duties and began playing with the San Antonio Spurs in 1989 and then retired from the NBA in 2003.
You ever been on a naval boat or submarine?
Yes, the USS Alabama.
Okay, I can't imagine being his height and having to be on a boat like that. That's got to be so uncomfortable.
You're right about that. Roger Staubach, quarterback there for the Dallas Cowboys, sometime referred to as Captain America or Captain Comeback. We were talking about nicknames today on the Inside Drive. Staubach was a Naval Academy graduate, class of 65, who earned the 1963 Heisman Trophy as a member of the Midshipmen. Staubach served a 4-year stint in the U.S. Navy before joining the Cowboys in 1969. He served in Vietnam for a year with 6-month tours at Naval Support Group Da Nang and Chu Lai. The Navy lieutenant was named to the Pro Bowl 6 times in his 11-year career. Staubach retired from football in 1980. Bob Feller, he played Major League Baseball from 1936 to 1941. He was exempt from the military draft, but in the wake of the bombing of Pearl Harbor and America's entry into World War II, the player known as the Heater from Van Meter, another great nickname there, was primed to be military physical training instructor for the United States Navy. Feller volunteered for combat duty instead and served as a gun captain until his part in the war ended. Feller returned to Major League Baseball in 1945. He received 6 campaign ribbons and 8 battle stars. Feller was named an honorary Green Beret before he died in 2002. An Atlanta Braves pitcher here, Warren Spahn, he enlisted enlisted in the U.S. Army after playing 4 Major League games during the 1942-1943 baseball season. He served as a combat engineer and was highly decorated. He was awarded the Bronze Star, he earned a Purple Heart, and he received a Presidential Citation for wartime service. He was discharged in 1946, and then he went back to the MLB and racked up a whopping 363 wins as a left-handed Major League pitcher. He passed away in 2003 at the age of 82. So that's going to do it for that list there. And again, said that just to kind of bring a sports atmosphere to it. And thank you so much for your service. Happy Veterans Day to all of you out there if you served. Again, last night we were on the way to Gainesville, or not on the way to Gainesville. We went to Gainesville for that Buchholz-Mosley game. We had it right here on the air. Mosley did not get the result that they wanted, but hey, you ended up in the playoffs. There. Exactly. You were there, and you got to see a really good team at that. Buchholz gets the W there, 59-0, and we talked about guys like Miles Graham, Kendall Jackson. Not very much on the air, but those were guys I was expecting to call their name a ton, and it was Quentin Cutler, the running back, who was just 5'8", but the guy was shifty as all get out.
And you were saying earlier on the inside drive that Mosley traveled very well down there, right?
Yeah, the fans were incredible. I mean, they might have had just the same amount of fans as what Buchholz did. And yeah, I mean, they've done it to every single away game. There hasn't been an away game in the last 2 years where I'm like, where is everybody? They travel so well, but it was maybe 3 or 4 times the size of that last night, which just goes to show all of the love and camaraderie that they have there. And again, I can't base this off of anything of what I've seen from Mosley and then the teams who play Mosley at Tommy Oliver, especially the real road teams. When you got county teams, I'm sure that you got county fans on either side of the stadium. And when we're up there in the press box at Tommy Oliver, all I can account for is what I see from the other side, because we don't have a great visual from the stands that are on the home side of the field.
But you do have 2 seasons worth of viewing to base this off of, though. You got a decent sample size. Yeah, and like, again, my comparison isn't to the other schools here in the county as much as it is to the Niceville. I would say Niceville was probably the best traveling team that we've seen on the road. And last year we were in their house. This year they were here at Tommy Oliver. A lot of success, correct? Niceville's a pretty good school. So typically when there is a lot of success, there's a lot more hype. And then, I hate to say it, but you have some more people jumping on the bandwagon. Yeah. Absolutely. Let's see. JUCO boys basketball. South Georgia Tech falls to Gulf Coast 76-59. So good on the Gulf Coast Commodores. Still got to get to a game. We're early in the season, but can't wait to go check out the Commodores and the Lady Commodores at that as well. Now, there was more soccer games than this on girls and boys side of things, and I'll pull up Max Preps before we get to the 540 segment. But the 2 scores that I do have in front of me on the girls side of things, South Walton blanks Arnold 8-0, and in boys soccer, Franklin falls to Community Christian 5-1, and McClay and South Walton play to a draw, sitting there at 1. South Walton senior softball pitcher. There's a ton of these signings as well. I'll try to get to more of these when we get to that 540 segment. But South Walton senior softball pitcher Ella Trout has signed with the University of Georgia. That was Wednesday evening, and then last night, or actually this was Wednesday night, Chipola head coach for baseball Jeff Johnson was inducted into the 62nd class of Florida Sports Hall of Fame in Jacksonville. He was one of 7 new members inducted alongside Leroy Butler, Vince Carter, Tom Coughlin, Greg Coleman, Elaine Larson, and Shannon Miller. That is a great group of company to find your name in. The 62nd class makes up a total of 289 members of the Florida Sports Hall of Fame. Johnson built Chipola baseball into one of the premier JUCO programs in the country, and also compiled an outstanding overall record of 986 wins, 460 losses, and 3 ties, which is
a winning percentage of .680 over 27 seasons. He led the Indians to their first national championship in 2007. Then he repeated the accomplishment with back-to-back national titles in 2017 and 2018. His teams have won 14 Panhandle Conference championships and 6 FCSAA Region 8 championships, including 3 consecutive titles from 2017 to 2019. He's had more than 100 players be drafted out of Chipola since he became the head coach, and his programs have produced an impressive 19 MLB players, and 4 of those being MLB All-Stars. Tonight, Bozeman and Holmes County get the bye. Chipley's going to be hosting the 6th seed. Chipley's the 3 seed. That'll be tonight at 7 in the region quarterfinal. In Class 1R, Region 2, Bluntstown and PSJ will have the bye, where the 4 seed will host the 5 seed, or the 4 seed Sneeds will host the 5 seed Cottondale. That'll be tonight at 7 as well in the region quarterfinal. The 6 seed, Weewa, is going to be traveling to also the 6th seed there, Osceola Christian, and that'll be tonight at 7 as well in the region quarterfinal. In 2S Region 1, the 1 seed, Walton, will host the 8 seed, South Walton, tonight at 7 in the quarterfinal. And number 6, Mariana, will travel to the 3 seed, Florida High, and that'll be tonight at 7 as well in the region quarterfinal. And as we mentioned earlier, Mosley fell to Buchholz 59-0 last night, but the future is bright for those Dolphins. Got a lot to look forward to and a lot to grow on. We are on the radio 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe, and we're also streaming live on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. Do me a favor and like and share the Facebook feed and follow us over there on Twitter. Subscribe to the YouTube page as well. We also have an app. Download that app and register at 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We did get a little breaking news. We were expecting a decision at some point, and it's having to do with what's going on with Michigan. The Big Ten is expected to discipline Michigan for the in-person scouting and ongoing sign-stealing investigation. It will also prohibit Jim Harbaugh from being on the sideline until the conclusion of the regular season. That is told to Pete Thamel. He will be allowed to coach during the week. So we're going to see how that plays out. But of course, then we get earlier. Oh, man. Well, they're going to be taking it to court. They're going to seek a court order to keep Jim Harbaugh on the sideline. So who knows how in the world this is all going to play out. I'm of the opinion that at this point in time, it really doesn't matter. If they are stealing signs and stuff, then what's the matter if your head coach is there? You know, just have someone compile all the issue or all of the signals that you need and then move on with that. I like what Louis Riddick said about it the other day. These things have been going on for a while, and it really comes down to oh my gosh, I can't believe that. Well, you probably can't believe it because you never played it.
Right. Or like you just, it's stuff that people don't know about, these rules that are always being brought about in these situations. If people would, actually, I guess, read a rule book or know a little bit more what was going on or more aware, I don't think the outrage would be so great. Do you?
No. I mean, say that again one time.
Okay, it's very surprising to people because they don't know like the rules. Okay, so then when they hear about stuff like this, it's stuff that probably people have never thought about, and it starts getting the gears going. And then, like, there's some outrage out there about it. Like, how can they do such a thing? Well, one, like we've said, probably everybody's doing something very similar, just not maybe to the extent at what Michigan was doing.
Yeah, there's basically one sport out there where cheating isn't even a part. And I hate to say it, say it as cheating when really it's trying to get an edge. Now, if they broke the bylaws, then they did cheat, and then we can figure that out from there. But nothing needs to be happening in the regular season. You don't get to a point where the team is sitting undefeated. You handle all of that stuff later. We don't take the season. We don't keep Reggie Bush out of the regular season or out of the postseason at that point, and then take his Heisman away. No, it was he did it. And still should be getting he should have gotten his Heisman back by now, especially with all of this going on. I mean, we're talking about basically him using his talents to help his parents out, but that's neither here nor there. I just think this is a big crock, if you will, that they're doing this stuff now. Because if it was Ohio State, I wonder, would they be doing this in the middle of the season? Right. If it was Alabama, would they be doing this in the middle of the season? Are they just that scared of Michigan for 3 years in a row to take down Ohio State. Maybe that is the issue. I would love to hear from Michigan Eddie on that side of things, but we do got to get to a break so we can get to the real Fishing Report. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, and at 4:40, we might have ourselves a payday. It's the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
The PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd. Mondays at 5:20 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
That is a very high-end card and very rare.
Todd talks about coins, trading cards, collectibles, and the amazing stories behind them.
It was the first one that's ever come through my door.
Plus, we'll be taking your calls and questions at 850-215-6290. The PCB Hobby Takeover.
A platform for you to do your hobby.
Mondays at 5:20 on the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. The remainder of the day, mostly cloudy and a temperature of 77 with wind 5 to 10 miles per hour out of the south. Very light rain and mostly clouds tonight, a light breeze and quite warm near 66. Mostly cloudy and 78 tomorrow. 72 and mostly clouds and light rain with a gentle breeze Sunday. This is your Friday's weather sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
With over 65 years of combined experience, Instant Replay Sports Cards is happy to help you take your collection to the next level. They carry all the new hobby boxes, signed memorabilia, and supplies. New and vintage cards in Pokemon. They sell and trade cards and are always looking to buy. They're an authorized source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports. It can always be reached at InstantReplaySportsCards.com.
Are you tired of hearing 2 weeks when you call to get your boat worked on? Hey folks, it's Chris Kramer with Kramer Marine and Outdoor, and we'll get you in and back out on the water as quick as possible. We're a full-line Yamaha outboard dealer and Suzuki outboard dealer, and we have master-trained certified mechanics on site. So if it's just an annual service, electronics install, trolling motor install, or all the way up to a full repower, we can take care of you. So stop by and see us in the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd next to Bill Kramer GM, or call us at 850-851-0453.
The Real Fishing Report. It's expert insider information from Tim at Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle. What's biting? What bait to use? Where to catch? And now, the Real Fishing Report. On 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
What's going on? You're back in the doghouse riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes along with Caveman Rick, the Bone Crusher, and we just let someone else slide in. I guess it seems fitting because we were in Gainesville last night. We do have Travis Peterson in the building with us, and he'll be making some picks with us later on. But now it is time for one of our favorite segments of the week, and the weather is just right for it as well. We've got Tim Braddock. He's the owner of Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, and this is the Real Fishing Report. What's going on, Tim? Da-da-da-da-da. Tim, you there?
I'm here.
There we go. Right. What's going on, man?
Well, it just had a whole lot. Cloudy on this side of the beach, probably cloudy on that side of the beach.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It feels really good outside. Why don't you give us a recap of how the bonfire went down last week, or the bonfireless bonfire? Caveman Rick was going to try to get out there, had something come up, but how did everything go? And how was Paul, the owner of Sure Thing Cigars? I think that he dropped. I did hear something click there for a second, but we'll work on getting him back on here in just a second. I feel bad because I know Bone Crusher's got a lot of work to do, and I'm just putting him to work again and again and again. Well, Buffalo Rock is a sponsor of us, and Travis over there has a Mountain Dew Game Fuel Citrus Cherry. Tell me a little bit about that. I had the watermelon Mountain Dew a couple of days ago, and it was pretty good. How you liking that Citrus Cherry? Is it a lot like Code Red?
Actually, no, it's not a lot like Code Red at all. It's I mean, it tastes different. I mean, it tastes like a Mountain Dew, but it tastes different. I don't know how to explain.
So it's just got a little citrus cherry to it. So instead of it tasting overly cherry, it's got that kind of a merge there of citrus and cherry. So good stuff, man. You like the Game Fuels, though?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Game up a little bit better.
I remember when Halo came out, and it was the first one. And they had all the orange game fuel. That was good.
Yeah, that's interesting, though, because what game is it that you're playing right now when you're drinking the game fuel? We'll get to that possibly in another segment later on because we do have Tim back on with us. Hey, Tim, so recap what went down over there at the shop last week.
Absolutely. No bonfire, just to be very clear. And because of we had a burn ban last week.
Yeah, that's why I called it the
big wildfire.
I think that you dropped before because I said bonfire and I said actually the bonfireless bonfire.
That's it, the bonfireless bonfire. And but man, it was still fantastic, incredible time. Had a full parking lot, people driving by, pulling on LeGrand, which is our little side street, taking pictures, rolling the window down, listening to the concert. It was just one of those times you had to be there to see F-150 Raptor bed decked out with fog machine. I mean, full stereo equipment for the concert, for Paul singing live. Paul had his own light show with him, too. I mean, just one of those things you had to see to be able to appreciate, but it was quite the experience.
That is awesome, man. Well, what can we look forward to here in this Real Fishing Report on this Friday, November 10th?
Yeah, we're going to recap a little bit what's happened over the past week in the fishing world, and had a very active week with kind of behind-the-scenes work, and so we actually are going to talk a little bit about some of that, and some of the aspects of it we find interesting. And then also the fishing has been moderate, and I personally have been able to go out and fish, but we probably got about 50 reports this week between the charter fleet and our rec guys. So, got a lot of content we'll get covered today. And but I am intrigued. When I got back in the queue, somebody was talking about Halo. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about this drink that Travis brought in, Mountain Dew Game Fuel Citrus Cherry, and it brought him right back to the nostalgia place in his brain, talking about Halo.
Yeah, man, that has been, I haven't heard of Halo in probably the better part of 20 years.
It's a long time.
15 to 20 years.
Original Xbox, Halo.
Yeah, with the Ring of Death.
No, that's Xbox 360.
That's
my
Xbox
bad.
360.
See, I was playing it on computer, on a PC.
Yeah.
Oh, so you were sweaty. You had it going on, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, paid a good friend in high school to build the computer kind of deal. So that was back in the late 90s.
The prices on them computers are crazy right now.
Yeah.
There's somebody I know that's got a $10,000 computer.
It is. It's nuts. So let's not detour too much from fishing, but we actually correlate. It's incredible what the electronic cost is in the fishing world. But when it comes to fishing over the past week, we are starting to see it slow down just a little bit. So we're kind of looking like we're going to get into our winter fishing pattern, which doesn't mean you don't fish. It just means you have to be a little bit more tactical on where you actually go fishing. And we had a couple, Chalknahatchee Bay saw a couple good schools of redfish blow up over the past 2 weeks. And that, those seem to have kind of waned off over the past 4 or 5 days. We also are running that tournament right now still through the end of the month, November the 30th. And so there's over 600 entries in that tournament. We get a pretty good sample of what's going on and where fish are being caught. Something to highlight about that tournament runs all the way from Orange Beach down to Apalachicola. It's a couple hundred miles worth of shoreline. And the current placeholder is here out of Panama City for the Pompano spot, as well as for the whiting spot.
Is it the same angler?
Same angler, yeah.
Oh
nice.
Man!
So out of the six leaderboard spots, 4 of them are held out of Panama City.
And you are the leaderboard for our area. You are the weigh station, correct?
I am the weigh station. That is correct. And so, it's neat to be able to see these guys. A couple of the guys that are on the leaderboard have known each other a while and fished around each other. So the competitive juices are flowing too. So that's always fun to hear the smack talk. And so that's it also gives us a good insight as to where some of these fish are. You got to realize a large portion of these contestants are over in Pensacola and in Orange Beach area. So even though we have a smaller representation of overall fish entries, we currently have the majority of the leader spots.
We have the quality.
Now, a lot of fish are coming from this direction. I mean, we had a guy from Pensacola that's on the leaderboard that was over here fishing in this area today as well. So, we've heard mixed reviews all week on how the fishing is. I personally went out and fished last night, and out of a 4-hour period, I sat down for maybe 30 minutes cumulative because there was that much activity. So, we're still seeing a good number of fish. It's starting to slow down. It's not quite as hot as it's been, right? So what that means is there'll be, over the next 2 to 3 weeks, there'll be a few more pockets, 2 to 3 day runs, typically where we see fishing just be top notch. So,
now, like you were saying, Tim, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you were talking about, the fishing kind of slowing down some, but what I've seen recently, like on Facebook and stuff like that, the quality of fish is a lot better, though. Bigger fish or some oddities. Like I saw somebody, I think it was earlier this week, had about a 6-inch bonefish in their hand, a juvenile bonefish, which so that means they're reproducing around here.
That's a great point, Rick. As the fishing slows, we tend to see larger, mature fish caught. And this particular week, we had a representative from FWC. She's actually the regional biologist for the entire Panhandle. Spent a little over 2 hours in the shop, just really talking shop. And so it was interesting to hear from a scientific standpoint, how they get the data, what goes into making the rules, and ultimately she's kind of the initial rule drafter. It obviously goes to committee, and from there it's reviewed, and then whether it's adopted. But it was very interesting to talk with her this past week, and the top 3 concerns that you only have so much time, and we talked about a myriad of fish species here in the Panhandle. But the top 3 issues that she asked me, she said, what do you feel like are the top 3 pressing issues in the local fishing community? I said, number 1 is the presence of shark when you're bottom fishing. And so I went on to express, I don't know if that's because people are just talking about it more and social media makes things more prevalent, for we have more anglers fishing, or if there really is a shark. I'm going to use the wrong word, but it's depredation that's going on. And so that was an interesting conversation with her. There does seem to be a whole lot of increase. I think the unanimous consensus is that is the case. How do we rectify that is where a lot of the debate happens.
Ooh, what are some options to how to rectify that?
Well, I think a lot of it is has to be passed through what individuals view as ethical, sustainable, and responsible. And I know sometimes in the outdoor world, those words tend to make people feel like there's government overreach and rules that are set in place. But I'm relatively young in this industry. I'm 38, but I think it's vitally important that we emphasize the message of conservation and preservation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's where a lot of the technicalities are had. How they, at the end of the day, there will need to be some that are harvested, how that's harvested, what the rules and regulations are surrounding that is, left for intelligent discussion.
Yeah.
So I think the second aspect we talked about the most was, or the second point we brought up, not talked about the most, but the second point was cobia fishing and how, how the decline has really been in place since the BP oil spill.
Oh, yeah.
So that was very interesting conversation as to, there's a couple theories out there as to why that's the case. The predominant one seems to be that the detergents that were used to break up some of the oil slicks killed off a lot of the surface bait, and seems to be some issues there. And again, a lot of this is still being studied. So everybody wants answers, right? Everybody wants to be able to say, well, this is what the problem is, and this is how to fix it. But being able to collect accurate information is vitally key to these. So I think it's important for all fishermen to understand sometimes it takes time to get to the point where we can create a plan. And so cobia fishing was the second category, and then the third area of concern is the decline of what appears to be the decline of redfish population over on the east end of the Choctawhatchee. That seems to be a pretty big consensus amongst anybody you talk with, whether recreational guys or charter guys. And a lot of that, a lot of those charter captains that we personally deal with out of the shop here are encouraging their customers to catch and release. And, when it comes to redfish. So it was a very interesting, insightful conversation. But do you guys have any questions on those 3 points or comments?
Yeah,
I know there's a lot of information.
On the redfish that you just finished up with, what do you think's causing the issues with the redfish on the east end of the Choctawhatchee Bay? Is it like loss of habitat, the water quality?
Yeah, that's a great point. And based on, this is my personal opinion, and talking with both the scientific community and those who are kind of on the day-to-day of the field, I personally don't believe that there's been a loss of population as much as there has been a move in location.
Right on.
I think it's been due to increased pressure in fishing. And I think it kind of, some of that begins to work itself out, right? If people aren't catching fish in a particular area,
they'll move.
They're going to, yeah, exactly.
And then the fish will move to those areas again.
That's correct. I do think that, we can sit here and say, oh, we're depleting our bays, or, we're overfishing. From the scientific world is not actually happening. Redfish numbers seem to be pretty stable in both of our bays. We're not having a lot of the same concerns that they're having out of South Florida or Central Florida, for that matter, Tampa area. And so both of our bay systems look to be great and in good health. I wouldn't say they're in excellent health, but they seem to be in a good, stable place. So.
Is there anywhere they can go, or maybe just even call in Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, and if they have any question about, the conservation and preservation of our beautiful areas here, especially when it comes to fishing, on what the ethical things are to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, following fishing guidelines that are set forth by the state would be a very good starting place. And sometimes a handful of anglers kind of hoodoo it for the rest of everybody else. But for those that are looking, there are a lot of local communities. you can call here at the shop, but one of the great things to be able to do, you can get involved with CCA. You can also get involved with a local fishing community. If you're a kayak fisher, there's a good kayak fishing community here in Panama City, and it's not ran out of this shop; it's ran out of Sunjammers downtown, and we promote that because we just, quite frankly, we don't have the expertise. They do, and they've got a lot of great guys. We have a fly tying night coming up in December the 5th. The fly community, almost all of the fly fishermen are very big into conservation and preservation. So my advice to that would be to get connected in with a local group. There's all different types of fishing. There's local communities. I think of SWARA, which is the South Walton Artificial Reef Association. They do trash collection days. There is a whole host of ways to get involved. And I don't think if you're really interested, I don't think you have to look too far.
Yeah, no, I mean, you mentioned groups, and I mean, they can just go in and hit the search bar on Facebook and try to find some of those groups. And like one of the things that I've been trying to say, especially to my friends and stuff like that, when we get into some of these conversations is if you want to see a difference, be the difference, because that's the only way that it's going to start. So, Tim, you want to hit us with a recap of the Real Fishing Report?
Sure. The peak of fall fishing is starting its slow drift into our winter fishing patterns. This weekend's weather forecast will leave much to be desired for optimal fishing weather. However, this provides great opportunity to get out and challenge your fish finding abilities. Whether you're fishing inshore, offshore, or from shore, spot selection will be key. Come by Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle this weekend to pick up your premium, locally sourced bait and the current up-to-date fishing advice.
Tim, as always, thank you so much, and looking forward to chatting with you next Friday.
Yes, sir, gents. See you guys soon in studio.
Be good,
absolutely. Tim. Can't wait for him to be back in the studio with us. That's Tim Braddock. He is the owner of Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, and that was the Real Fishing Report. When we get back, there might just be a payday. Give us a call, 850-215-6290. I'm talking traffic, jam, and trivia.
ESPN Northwest Florida. We're taking the inside drive.
Hey, Jay, what's up, man? You okay?
Check this out. I just told my wife she could remarry after I die, but he's not allowed to use my golf clubs.
What the heck did she say to that?
Don't worry, he's left-handed.
Harsh, brah.
Yup.
Join Ryan Mulvey with the Inside Drive. Middays 11 to 1.
ESPN Northwest Florida. Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. The remainder of the day, mostly cloudy and a temperature of 77 with wind 5 to 10 miles per hour out of the south. Very light rain and mostly clouds tonight, a light breeze and quite warm near 66. Mostly cloudy and 78 tomorrow. 72 and mostly clouds and light rain with a gentle breeze Sunday. This is your Friday's weather sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
There are 3 great Barefoot locations. Barefoot on the Bay in St. Andrews, plus Barefoot on the Beach and the Barefoot Hideaway Grill, both on PCB's famous Front Beach Road. Whichever location you visit, you'll find great food, amazing specialty drinks, and the Emerald Coast best views. The football games will be on with awesome game day food and cocktail specials. And go now to barefootrestaurants.com to get a digital coupon for 15% off your entire bill. Barefoot. Great food, drinks, fun, and games.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
Now back to the most dangerous afternoon show on terrestrial radio.
It's dangerous.
It's illegal in 5 states.
Afternoon Underdogs. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
If you watch this show, you know what I'm talking about here. We're going to try to give away some good stuff here for Traffic Jammin' Trivia. And the question is, hallelujah, what a payday. It's satire, but there's a lot more meaning to that as well. But what was the first headgear Lee Corso put on College Game Day? What was the first headgear that Lee Corso donned on College Game Day? And so from now on, when you hear that song, you know, just like how we used to have Triple H and his theme song to be trivia, now we're going to go with old Baby Billy with some Bible bonkers.
There will come a payday, hallelujah.
850-215-6290. The first headgear Lee Corso put on College Game Day. This was all the way back in 1996. We're going to be giving you $25 to Not The But That Boot Store and a $15 gift certificate to Golf Plus just in time for the holidays. We had Alan Watson in the building with us just a few days ago on Wednesday afternoon because we weren't able to have a show yesterday, being that me and Kyle were down there in Gainesville. But $25 to Not The in That Boot Store, $15 to Golf Plus. Did you have any other comments while we're waiting on a call on the whole Michigan situation? Then maybe we'll get old Travis's opinion on what's going on.
Only thing I'd probably have to add, though, is until we actually find out exactly what was going on, kind of going to wait to pass judgment, I guess. There's a lot of speculation out there. A lot of it doesn't seem like to be 100% true, the stuff that you're hearing out there. So until I get to the bottom of it, have some more tangible stuff to kind of read through and look at, I'm kind of going to wait. Like I was saying earlier, though, when we were off the air, suspending Harbaugh now is kind of dumb. I mean, isn't the typical NCAA way of doing things is let the season go on, and then if you do get in trouble, you'll vacate wins or championships and lose scholarships and such. So they're making this move now. It just seems more like a witch hunt, and they're just trying to get rid of Harbaugh, for lack of a better term. And actually, I mean, they dropped the hammer on the guy. They're not going to really see him making a run for the NFL after this year.
Yeah, I mean, and it really just depends on what position is going to be open for him, because Eberflus could be out in Chicago. Who knows how that situation is going to play out? Brandon Staley might be a couple of missed fourth down conversions from being ousted over there in Los Angeles for the Chargers, which, I mean, how cool would that be to see him over there with the Chargers, and you start off with the quarterback that you know is the future of your team, at least for the time being. A couple of other
Ron Rivera as well, Commanders. He's not going to keep his job, and you got a brand new ownership group there. Probably want to make a splash. That could be a place for him to drop right there.
Raiders are already open, so there will be room in the NFL.
No money for the Raiders, though, because I think they're still paying Gruden and they're still paying McDaniels now. But not to mention, Mark Davis is the poorest NFL owner. He has the least amount of money out of any of them.
They'll figure out a way to make it happen, dude. They just love paying coaches for a long time, even when they're not coaching on the sidelines for those teams. As we're going to get back to Traffic Jammin' Trivia here, we've got Kyle on the line for Traffic Jammin' Trivia, relaxing at the house in Panama City Beach. What's going on, Kyle?
What's going on, Dave and K-Man?
Oh, Kyle Albritton on the line with us, Mr. Niceville himself.
There you go.
Niceville, y'all got Nice tonight?
Yes, sir.
What's your score prediction for that game?
I don't know much about Nice. They have a decent record, but I'll say something like 35-17.
And you guys are on the opposite side of the bracket of Buchholz, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we're the 2 seed, they're the 1 seed, but because of that shady game a few weeks ago, we had to go on the road.
I'm not going to accept that comment from you, but you are entitled to your own opinion there, Kyle. But yeah, so that would be a heck of a game, man. Mosley did stun Niceville. There's no doubt about it, but Niceville is a powerhouse, and it would be interesting. All I'll say this is, say about Buchholz is, wow. Like, the two guys that we were keyed in on really didn't. Yeah, 5 stars really didn't even have an impact. And you know about these guys in Kendall Jackson and Miles Graham because they're going to be headed to the University of Florida next year. So wild, man. And then the senior.
Yeah, it's kind of weird though that Buchholz is this much better because when I was a student there, we actually our district at the time was Gainesville and Buchholz and us. And I joked doing some community service for a class. This girl goes, oh, like she was in high school. She goes, we're playing Niceville for homecoming, and I was like, that's a terrible idea. And so we ended up beating them like 27-7 because we muffed a kick. That was like their only score. And so it's like the fact that they're that much better than they were back then is pretty crazy because a lot of the Gainesville high schools aren't really that great. So.
Yeah, well, they got a heck of a coach over there, and Mark McLeod, who covers the Gators, and you can also hear him on Wednesdays on the Coach James Hale Show, normally starting at 8:30, I believe, Wednesday morning. It's been a while since I ran the board for Coach Hale, but he said about the coach. Let me scroll up because he sent me a lot of stuff. The head coach is Chuck Bell, and he's impressive. He did some work under Will Muschamp at Florida. Then he followed Muschamp to South Carolina for a year, and he's also coached at a small college and one other high school. And they also haven't scored less than 30 points all year, and they almost doubled that up last evening. And that defense, as he mentioned, was really good, though. But congratulations to Buchholz for moving on. We'll see how Niceville does against Nice this evening. The trivia question for you, Kyle, is what was the first headgear that Lee Corso put on College game day?
That would be that disgusting Brutus the Buckeye.
Now, there's something we can agree on, my friend. Brutus the Buckeye, October 5th. 1996, when Ohio State was playing Penn State, which is not the game not one of the big games tomorrow, but it is Michigan and Penn State. What do you think about Michigan? Well, the NCAA or the Big Ten rather banning Jim Harbaugh from the sideline.
I mean, like you said, like if they watched enough of their games anyways, he's kind of irrelevant whether he's there or not. But I also think it's like a pointless penalty. It's like if you're making your signs that obvious that people can take them, who cares? It's like you can watch it on TV, you can watch it in the stands, you can send someone. It's just scouting. You know, there's varying degrees of how you go about doing it that might be kind of shady, but like if you're making it that obvious that an opponent can get an edge on you, like why wouldn't you take advantage of it? But like if you do feel like there should be a penalty, like just banning him from the games where he can still coach during the entire week seems kind of pointless.
Yeah, I know. It's almost like they're like, all right, people are just complaining, cancel him. So we'll do something as a show that's really not going to have that much of an impact outside of there is going to be situations where they get into the third and the fourth quarter or end of the first half.
What are they going to monitor his cell phone to be like whether he can call from his house like while the game is going on? It's like, well, he's not on TV and you can't see him, but like how do you know he's still not coaching?
Yeah, or have some walkie-talkies where he's, just kind of outside the stadium at a restaurant across the bar in a place where, or at a restaurant across the street where no one can really see him and he just walkie-talkieing into the interim head coach. Right. I mean, but that would just open up a whole nother can of worms. I don't know. This thing it's interesting, but to a point, it's just like everything that sits in the news cycle for a week or whatever. It's like, all right, enough, man. Let's finish out the regular season. Let's finish out bowl season, and then you guys can come back. So if Michigan ends up winning the championship, then you can vacate whatever if you find them to be guilty of what they are accused of. However, my thing is about this is I don't know for a fact. Let me not say that. There's no way that other teams aren't doing this. And like you said, how many teams out there they're recording the game? They're recording the game. Why? Because how else did they get film? So come on now. You know that everyone's checking in on this because maybe some teams are going to get lazy with it and get comfortable with their signals and everything. But in the game, in sports, outside of golf, you want to get the sharpest edge that you can get week in and week out.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Kyle, thanks so much for participating and playing along with us, and we hope the best for Niceville this evening for you.
Yes, sir. Go Eagles.
Bone Crusher, we don't need any information on Kyle, do we? Yeah, we are good to go. You can go ahead and hang up, man. And wait, real quick, who's Florida got this week? You think LSU wins? I mean, do you think Florida wins if LSU has Jaden Daniels?
I mean, unfortunately, I don't think we win regardless, but it definitely would help if he doesn't play.
You need to keep the same energy with Florida that you do with Niceville. No, I'm just kidding. That kind of shows the realism. Yeah.
The realism of this is,
I like him keeping it real.
Unfortunately, as a Florida fan, we are going to get whooped.
Yep, there we go. Well, I love it, man. We got two Gator fans keeping it real here. Hey, Kyle, thanks so much for the call, buddy.
Yes, sir. Have a good day, guys.
Absolutely, man. You have a good day as well. Well, we really don't have a lot of time for picks here, but we might have enough time to get in a couple of fantasy football scores from the scoreboard. In the Afternoon Underdogs League, Hayes' Heroes takes down Know-It-All 96.72 to 54.82. Tyreka League beats Team McNulty 103.24 to 94.34. Missing Romo falls to McLovin 114.28 to 110.8. Love Pack dominates Studs and Duds 145.22 to 109.46. Indy Colts Guy beats Swamp Thing 146.48 to 116.6. And Buck Nasty falls to Vita Maiveas 104.1 to 80.68. And if I'm not mistaken, those are brothers playing up against each other. The ankle biter of the week was the Know-It-All with 54.82, but he didn't change out his buy, so that is, that's just kind of one of those self-inflicted wounds. And the top dog was Chef Ross with Love Pack at 145.2. In the Coach Hale Show League, Team Garrett beats Coach James Hale 123.6 to 83.18. Panama, I don't know exactly. We'll just call him Panama. Beats Slew 119.42 to 89.32. Close one here. The Big Blue Wrecking Crew beats Jimbo 121.24 to 120.56. Team Stavos over the Oregon Ducks 100.42 to 94.4. Team Youngblood beats Doomsday 115.74 to 74.88. And Gator J beats Kurt's Kings 158.6 to 110.4. The top dog was Gator J with 158.6, and the ankle biter was Doomsday with 74.88. We're going to go ahead and take a break, and we'll recap these other two leagues when we return, and then we're going to dive into a little Be in the Know with the NFL as we've just crossed the halfway point of the season.
Start your morning with sports updates, interviews, reactions, lively discussions, insights, and expert analysis.
I think in our lifetime, we will never see another undefeated team.
Join Evan, Canty, and Michelle weekday mornings from 5 to 7.
It will never happen again.
On the Sports Talk Monster.
If anyone deserves the benefit of the doubt for one last chance, it's Bill Belichick.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. The remainder of the day, mostly cloudy and a temperature of 77 with wind 5 to 10 miles per hour out of the south. Very light rain and mostly clouds tonight, a light breeze and quite warm near 66. Mostly cloudy and 78 tomorrow. 72 and mostly clouds and light rain with a gentle breeze Sunday. This is your Friday's weather sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
At Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, you can find all the necessary items for an unforgettable fishing experience. From pin rods and reels to the best hand-tied rigs in Florida, we have it all. With the help of our friendly and knowledgeable staff, you can be sure that you have the right gear to make that big catch. Come experience a great local bait and tackle shop located directly off 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach, located just 5 miles west of Pier Park.
You're home to the NFL. WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. Joe, ESPN Northwest Florida.
With over 65 years of combined experience, Instant Replay Sports Cards is happy to help you take your collection to the next level. They carry all the new hobby boxes, signed memorabilia, and supplies. New and vintage cards in Pokemon. They sell and trade cards and are always looking to buy. They're an authorized source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports. It can always be reached at instantReplaySportsCards.com.
Are you thirsty?
Oh, yeah, baby.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Hello.
Hello. Call or text now.
Hello.
850-215-6290.
Is anyone there?
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hour number 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs. You're in the doghouse listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 here in Panama City and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. I'm David Hayes along with Caveman Rick. We've got Travis in the building, and as always on Fridays, we've got the Bone Crusher on the ones and the twos. Hope you guys are having a great afternoon. To all of those who served, happy Veterans Day. We left off talking a little fantasy football. We are going to get to the overall, something I'm going to try to start doing for the rest of the fantasy football season, the overall top dog and the overall ankle biter. But we've got to get back to the inside drive. DJ Davy Crockett comes back and makes a miraculous comeback, actually, against the My Canopy Mud Dogs. I was down by like 20 points going into Monday Night Football and ended up winning by 3 points, 118.46 to 115.46. Jay Henley Golf falls to Team Lamb, 108.7 to 89.62. Don't Get Your Knickers in a Wad beats Dynasty QB 102.86 to 90.18. 23andMe beats Car Crash, which is Travis. He's in the building with us, 126.4 to 84.44. And You Down with ADP beats Offsides 80.4 to 74.48. And a Purdy, I'm just going to call him Purdy. Purdy beats Mitchell 146.12 to 101.72, and that makes Purdy our top dog at 146.12, and Offsides was the ankle biter at 74.48. Purdy is the only lady in our group out of all 4 leagues that is Keith Fleming's wife, which you can listen to on the Inside Drive Wednesdays at 12 o'clock. And we've got Brian listening in Inlet Beach, so a big shout out to Brian. Don't know if we have him on the line or not. If so, Brian, what's going on? No, just a shout out. That's what I figured, but I didn't want to just leave him hanging on the line, Bone Crusher. That is my bad for not following directions there, because he had it written out plainly for me, and I still messed that up. We'll go over to the Champions League, which if you finish in the top 4, could be the top 3. We might move it to the top 3, but if you finish in the top 3 or 4, you're going to move to the Champions League. Ridley's Believe It or Not takes down ESPN radio analyst 129.66 to 124.9. Troglodyte Dynamite in a close one over Buffalo wins 112.8 to 111.62. Eastside Trash beats Hertzbreakers 136.3 to 128.78. Burrow It Down beats Teamy McFootball 109.02 to 105.64. And Big Nick beats CCU No at 98.54 to 72.08, and Luck Ran Out takes down Team Purser 119.32 to 79.9. The top dog in that league was Gator Jamie with Eastside Trash at 136.3, and the host of the Inside Drive, CCU No, is the ankle biter at 72.08. Our overall top dog was Gator J with 158.6, and our overall ankle biter was Know It All with 54.82, with a slew of bye weeks there. You guys can give us a call or text at 850-215-6290. And if you'd like a shout out, just call in to Bone Crusher or text in and we'll shout you out, man. That's what we're here because of you guys. And that is 100% the facts. All right, I want to get into being in the know in the NFL. We just crossed the halfway point. We're going to take a look at each team, not each team, the top 2 teams in each division, where they rank in the FPI, their chances to make the playoffs, their chances to win their division, what we know, what we don't know, and stats that defined the first half. So this is not all my research. I did some extra things, some extra research on top of this, but for the most part, ESPN put together a great article, and I was like, you know what? This is something that we could use for conversation. We'll start with the AFC East. The team leading the AFC East right now is the Miami Dolphins at 6-3. Their FPI rank is 5. Their chances to make the playoffs are 93.1. The chance to win their division is 71.1%. What we know about the Dolphins, they have the ability to put up yards and points in a hurry. They lead the NFL in both offensive categories, and that's despite those two of their 3 past games where they've had subpar performances, if we're being honest. They're also clinical in the red zone. They score on an NFL best 75% of their trips inside of the red area. What we don't know yet, can they win the big games? What we just kind of mentioned. All 3 of those losses, though, if you want to give them a caveat, is that they were on the road. So that's, I mean, do you guys believe in the Dolphins to win big games, or are they just a team that when they play mediocre or below teams, they exploit their opponents?
Right now, I got to say the Dolphins are phonies. They can't win a big game against a winning franchise, against a winning team. They're beating the teams that they should beat, and they're beating them handily. They're still putting up lots of yards in these games, but they're still not winning the games when they need to win it. The home thing isn't going to matter because they're going to have to go on the road, and them being a fair weather team coming from Miami, going up and playing in snow, sleet, rain, and just cold weather is not going to bode well for them either. So right now, the Dolphins got to show me more of their phonies.
What you think, Travis?
I like the Dolphins.
Get a little bit, tilt that mic up a little bit. There you go. All right.
I like the Dolphins, honestly, but at the same time, like he said, there's not very. If they went to the playoffs today, I really don't believe in them to win it all the way. Just because, whether they're at home or they're on the road, eventually they're going to lose. I see them pulling out a luck win. Maybe against Kansas City they could pull out a luck win. If they played something like that, or the Eagles, coming out with a luck win. But it definitely wouldn't be because. They have all the talent and skill in the world, but it just doesn't seem to bode well in the.
I think I don't want to say it's overreaction because we're talking about 3 losses. We're talking about the Buffalo Bills, we're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, and we're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. All 3 of those against primetime opponents, and all 3 of those in a loss. And one of them was not a good-looking loss at all to the Buffalo Bills. The Eagles, they might have had an opportunity. Maybe that score doesn't determine exactly how close that game was, and kind of the same way with the Chiefs. But then you also look at the flip side of that. The Chiefs got out to a 21-0 lead. I would like to see them in a primetime game at home before I make a total assumption on this, or to make a final assumption on this, rather. We'll see, though. I mean, who knows what happens in those weeks 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Well, how are you playing at that point in time? I think that's going to be your predictor on where they're at that time of the season. How hot are they? How hot is that team at that point in the season?
I also believe that the record against the teams that they have beaten is very subpar and below 500. So that's another reason why.
Well, they also stormed back with Kansas City, which not a lot of people do.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is when you got that 21-0 lead and it's 21-14. Now you can also sit there and say, well, Tua had more passing yards. Yeah, I mean that's true, but the Chiefs defense, when they're playing good. So why do they got to continue to put up a ton of points? We'll go over to the second place team in the AFC East with the Buffalo Bills, who are sitting at 5-4. The FPI rank of 3. So the Dolphins sitting at 5. The FPI rank for the Bills is 3. But you look at these other numbers. The chances to make the playoffs, 57.6%, whereas their chance to win the division is at 20. 27%. So the Dolphins have a 71% chance and the Bills a 27% chance, which obviously these are just numbers. We still got a whole nother half of football to play for the most part. What we do know, the Bills' defense is solid. They rank number 5 in scoring defense, but they've got injuries to a lot of their key players. Now, they allowed 288 yards per game through Week 4, but then after that, since Week 5, they've been giving up 370.8 yards per game. And here's the thing, right? The Bills did beat the Dolphins head-to-head. They've got another matchup coming up later on in the year, and I think that's going to be interesting because now they're giving up a ton, and this Monday Night Football game coming up is going to be telling. Now, the Miami Dolphins, they're on a bye week, but the Buffalo Bills, they've got the Broncos on Monday Night Football. If you lose to them, then I don't see why in the world the Dolphins wouldn't run away with this Division I, and secondarily, why wouldn't they beat them the next time that they play them? Even though each game is its own game, I get that. So that's what we know. What we don't know is, can Josh Allen become consistent? The turnovers, the run game needs to get going, but Josh Allen's turnovers, specifically in the red zone, I mean, this is 2-3 years in the running now, and no one really talks about it because they want to put all their focus on Dak Prescott or who else is doing bad because Josh Allen. And it's like, I mean, if I'm the Buffalo Bills and I'm sitting at 5-4 right now, I'm disgruntled. And we got the Broncos, and if we don't look good against them, that could be trouble. A stat that defined the first half: they've averaged 6.8 points per game in the first half since Week 5, which ranks good for 28th in the league, and 13.4 points per game in the second half during that stretch. So in the first half, they're not very good, but they're a second half team, which normally bodes well for football teams, and that 13.4 points per game in the second half is good for first. So what are we thinking here about the Buffalo Bills? Do you like we're talking about a one-game difference here. Do we like the Bills to come back and win this division, or is the Dolphins going to win and then we get to the playoffs and the Bills prove they're the better team?
I don't trust either one of those two teams, the Dolphins or the Bills, to be honest. It's a coin flip right now. Bills got a 5-4 record, but if you look at the point differential, they're plus 80. They should be winning a lot more games if you're plus 80 points, in that column. So, again, like you said, the inconsistencies with Josh Allen, not to mention the turmoil they had before the season started with Stephon Diggs. Sean McDermott's on the hot seat. If this goes another, bad season where they don't actually probably make it to at least the AFC Championship game, if not the Super Bowl, he might be gone. So, I hate to repeat the same thing as the Dolphins, but in a way, they're kind of phonies, too. Sure, they're, beating some teams. They beat the Dolphins. But again, the Dolphins can't beat a really good team, it seems like. So them beating them is kind of, wishy-washy. So for me, they're going to have to prove it to me as well. If they even make it to the playoffs, I don't think they'll, make it probably past the second round.
What are you thinking, Travis?
So I actually do not like Josh Allen very much on...
Get in that mic.
Oh, sorry. I don't really care for Josh Allen much in that... In on the Bills. I mean, would I be happy if he came to my team? Of course, but he's just, I don't know, something about him just turns me completely off to the Bills. Maybe it's, and I heard something on a show one time where he was scared to take leadership with Stephon Diggs kind of pushing him around, telling him, hey, throw me the ball, and he forces it to him and he gets it intercepted.
Hey, that's a big point, man, about leadership. That's why Tim Tebow was as successful as he was in college football, and why I think he deserved a little bit of a longer leash in the NFL, because when you can get guys rallied around you, your talent is one thing, but you starting the war cry, if you will, that's a huge deal. It's a huge responsibility as well. I was watching Trials to Triumph again last night, and Freddie Stevenson, who played for Florida State, then goes on to the NFL, and that's a great story. If you haven't checked out that documentary yet, shameless free plug here for Tubi, which is a free app, and you can go watch it there. There's other places you can watch it, but Trials to Triumph is a great documentary. And he was talking about how his career went, and then he got to a certain point where it wasn't even leading vocally. He was the first one in the weight room, and those kind of guys can change teams on a dime, especially when other guys are like, man, I don't like the fact he's outworking me. I'm going to go in, or I like the fact respect that he's working so hard. And maybe if we all did that, maybe if 50 out of our 85 scholarship athletes did that, we'd be in a better position, because now we're outworking ourselves. And then by that effect, we're outworking the opponent as well, because it's not just about outworking the opponent in the game. It's outworking them mentally in preparation. It's outworking them physically in practice. I mean, there's so many things that go into this, and it's not baseball. It's not basketball where you have multiple opportunities against opponents. This is, you've got 6 days, really 5 days to work on what you're going to do. And it's kind of like what we talked about with running the board. You get to a point when you're running the board back there, what Bone Crusher's doing, where when Bone Crusher's back there running it, he's not even thinking about what he's doing. It comes natural. When you first get going into something like that, I remember my first three months or so, and there's so many things that can change on a dime, and you're overthinking. You're trying to be prepared for everything, but when you're prepared for something and just ready to go for it, then you can fix things a lot quicker. So that's a great point about leadership, and you do have to wonder how much of that Stephon Diggs situation has put a barrier between some of the locker rooms. I'm going to another sport here with the NBA. The Indiana Pacers off to a roaring start right now. They had a good start last year. Tyrese Halliburton got traded from the Kings, comes over there, and he said, man, there would be times after games and even before games where guys wouldn't be talking to each other. If you walk into this radio station right here, pretty much everyone is on, for the most part, the same page. We're all going to help each other. We try to pull our own weight, but if someone else needs a little help or something like that, we all, I mean, the proof's in the pudding with the Afternoon Underdogs.
No doubt.
How many times have, if I've got high school football, or if I've got something going on, or a family matter comes up, I got guys who just step in, no questions asked, really, no questions asked. And when you have that type of a group, it just makes things move so much more seamlessly. We'll move on here to y'all guys have anything else?
Yeah, we're good. Move on to the next call.
All right, I'm gonna get off my soapbox.
Well, I was gonna say one thing. Ultimately, on the whole Josh Allen leadership thing, ultimately he is if you compare it to a normal job, he is the manager. He is the guy that goes up in the huddle, tells the wide receivers what to do. Mm-hmm. He calls the audibles and all that. He needs to act like a manager. When have you ever barked back at Randy and he said, "Oh, okay,
I barked
you have
back
it your way."
I barked back at Randy, and the guys who are helping me out with the Afternoon Underdogs are going to have to help out a lot more.
Yeah, see, and that's ultimately what Stephon Diggs was doing. He was barking back at his manager, and instead of asserting his dominance that he has, he just said, "Oh, yep," and he rolled over like a dog.
Yeah, sometimes you just want to keep everything kosher, where sometimes it's like, well, just because it's kosher doesn't mean that it's right. Maybe kosher isn't the correct term there, but everything's good. We're all good, buddy. You know what I mean? And sometimes if you've got in your heart, no, we're really not all good, man. You need to be, you're a part of the team. You are not the Buffalo Bills. And I don't know what the situation really is between Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, but for any wide receivers who tend to be a little bit more diva-ish than other position groups in the NFL, if you think that you're bigger than the team, that team's doomed. It's not just you. It's not the team is doomed when there's one player on the team. I'll take it to softball, bro, to rec league softball. If you've got guys on the team who are not buying into what it is that you guys are trying to do as a whole, one guy. If one guy thinks he's better than everyone on the team, even if he actually is, if one guy isn't buying in, dude, I'm telling you, it's like you can have all the talent in the world, but there's so many things that are unquantifiable with just our relationships with each other that there's two different types. You can have the friendship and everything, but also you got to have that respect of the common goal of what we're actually working towards, and I'm going to sacrifice some things so that we can all be better.
I mean, go look if you think, sorry, if you think that, that stuff don't happen as far as quarterbacks putting people in their places, go look up Peyton Manning whenever, he was trying to pass or something like that.
To Dallas Clark, or are we talking Marvin
I'm not
Harrison?
sure. He flipped out on the sidelines, and somebody, one of the big men had to calm him down, but I
think I've seen what you're talking about. I want to say that it might have been Dallas Clark, where Dallas Clark was expecting the ball, or he was saying, let's run the ball or something like that.
Yeah, he was trying to control it, and Peyton Manning came up and said, no, man, I do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And more colorful language, and you listen to me.
Yeah, that would be a fun conversation to hear on the Manning Cast sometime. sometimes. All right, to the AFC North, Baltimore Ravens come in at 7-2. They've got the Cleveland Browns this week. Now, this whole division, we honestly could have done this whole division, and I knew it was going to go like this. I told myself just do the Veterans Day thing and then just jump into this because it's going to take you 2 hours to get all 4 teams. We've done 2 teams here in 20 minutes. The FPI rank for the Baltimore Ravens is 2. Their chances to make the playoffs, 95.7%. Their chance to win the division is 74.6%, and they've got a date with the Browns at the house this week. What we know, the quarterback, of course, Lamar Jackson is an MVP candidate. He leads the league in completion rate at 71.5%. A lot of fantasy footballers aren't going to give him and for a while I wasn't giving him the just due here because it's like, man, you're scoring me like 10 and 12 points a game. But 71.5% completion rate. That's best of, and then also he tops all quarterbacks in rushing yards with 440, which is halfway to 1,000. Very impressive. The defense, they're allowing a league low 13.8 points per game, very underrated. And they've got 35 sacks, which is good for number 1 in the NFL. Over the last 3 weeks, they've beaten 2 division leaders in the Detroit Lions and the Seattle Seahawks by a combined score of 75-9. Yep. 75-9. You don't need your quarterback to have a whole bunch of fantasy football points if you're winning games and you're beating contenders 75-9. But what we don't know is the biggest question. What we don't know is, will Lamar Jackson stay healthy? It's almost like the same thing for the Dolphins, even though they're not playing to the same level. But still, Lamar Jackson played 12 games in each of the last 2 seasons. So they've lost 7 of 9 games without him when the season is at the December point or later. They called an average of 4.4 design runs per game, which is also a career low for Jackson, which does what? Try to keep him from getting injured. A stat that defined the first half. They've been so dominant that they've held the lead entering the fourth quarter of every single game this season. That's tied for the 5th longest streak to begin a season in the Super Bowl era. That's according to ESPN Stats and Info. Of the previous 5 teams to do so, 3 of them went on to reach the Super Bowl, including one of those being the champion in 1998 at that Super Bowl, the Denver Broncos. We'll take a quick time out. We'll discuss this a little bit more after we get into the Cincinnati Bengals. So we'll talk more about the AFC North. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Turn that air down.
So hot
ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the Coach James Hale Show.
He's got a lot of pressure.
Hook him. Be quiet.
Like if I was driving a Ferrari, I'd let everybody know. He wouldn't want anything to do with it. I told you, man, he is on the sideline because I can't get away from him when he's on the headset.
Weekday morning 7 to 9. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, a variety of very light rain and mostly clouds and a low of 66 with wind 1 to 5 miles per hour. Light sprinkles tomorrow morning, a gentle breeze and hot near 77. Mostly cloudy and 78 in the afternoon and evening. 71 and clouds with a gentle breeze Sunday. Monday, mostly clouds and a temperature about the same at 69. This is your Friday's weather brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit us at the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
Sports fans, we love our teams, but let's talk real estate for a moment. Meet Berg Title, your trusted local real estate title and escrow company. Based in downtown Panama City, Berg Title knows the community inside out. They handle everything from title searches to escrow services with expertise. Honest, reliable, and here to make your real estate journey smooth. Remember, it's Berg Title. Call them at 850-250-2900. That's Berg Title, your partner for a worry-free real estate experience in Panama City and Panama City Beach.
Doing what other stations can't. The Afternoon Underdogs is live and local. 850-215-6290.
When you've completed dialing, listen for the ringing signal.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back here in the Doghouse. This is the Afternoon Underdogs. You're tuned into ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. Make sure you remember those numbers, and if you ever, at a family function or anywhere and you hear someone talking about sports, be like, man, you should be tuned into ESPN Northwest Florida. Give them a call or a text anytime. We've got 3 great local shows, and the more that you guys are interacting with us, the better the shows are going to get. So Coach James Hale Show, weekdays from 7 to 9 a.m. Then you're going to have the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then the Afternoon Underdogs here with myself in a great cast Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Nick comments on Facebook, and he says, Peyton freaked out on Jeff Saturday. We appreciate that, Nick. And the profile picture is a great one of the Atlanta Braves. And then we got a text from Richard, who says, this is a player in one of the 4 leagues from the ESPN leagues. Have you guys thought about relegation for the bottom 3 like in soccer? No, and I'll tell you why. Because there's only promotion in this league, because what happens is the top 3 or the top 4, we're either going to go to 16 teams for the Champions League or keep it at 12. If we stay at 12, then it'll be the top 3 from each league move on to the Champions League. I will have made a decision by the time that we get to the playoffs. All right, I'll make a decision on that by the time we get to the playoffs, which is approaching swiftly. But the reason why there'll be no relegation is because then I clear out all of the other leagues and it becomes first come, first serve again, because that's the whole point of it, is you're not locked into this unless you win. So there's promotion, but there's no relegation, but I love it. Thanks so much for the text, Richard. We're going to get back here to being in the know in the NFL. I'm going to try to go through briefly to see how many teams we can get knocked out here. We've done 3 to this point. If you guys got any comments, if there's any text, if there's any messages, we'll try to read those out. So stay with me here. All right, second place in the AFC North in a jumbled up division here, the Cincinnati Bengals. FPI rank of number 9. Their chance to make the playoffs is 54.4%. I feel like that number is going to be skyrocketing, and their chance to win the division is 9.4%. Here's what we know. Since week 5, this is why I think they're going to skyrocket with their percentage pertaining to the playoffs. Since week 5, Burrow is 3rd in the NFL in total QBR. He's 1st in completion percentage, and he's tied for 1st in passing touchdowns with 10 of them. What we don't know, can the Bengals defense continue forcing turnovers at a high rate? Through 8 games, the Bengals rank 4th in the NFL in turnovers forced per drive at 17%. That's according to ESPN Stats and Information. And here's the stat that defined the first half. They start games strong, and that's been paramount to their success. Since week 5, the start of the team's current winning streak, they've scored touchdowns on 42.1% of their first half drives. Not their first drive. Their drives in the first half, they're scoring touchdowns, not field goals, on 42.1% of those drives in the first half. That's also according to ESPN Stats and Info. And that's good for second best in the NFL. When Cincinnati reeled off 8 straight wins to end the 2022 regular season, they led the league in that category at 39.5%, which tells you what? Obviously, that's a full season, or their final 8 games, their final 8 wins. But they're doing that at a better clip at this point in time in the season. We'll move to the AFC South. No, I will not have the Titans on this. We're going to start it off with the division leader in the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have a huge date with the San Francisco 49ers down there at TIAA Bank Field coming up this Sunday at 12 o'clock. That game will be right here on ESPN Northwest Florida, coverage starting just after 11. The Jaguars ranked number 10 in FPI. Their chance to make the playoffs are 88%, and their chance to win the division, 79.8%. Here's what we know. The Jaguars defense has been way better than expected. They're tied for the league lead in turnovers, and they're ranked 3rd against the run, averaging 79.3 yards allowed per game. The linebacker, Josh Allen, not the quarterback, this guy's responsible for turnovers the same way Josh Allen is, but in a good way. He's having the best year of his career with 9 sacks and 48 quarterback pressures. On offense, the running back, and you talked about this guy last week, he was a huge, Travis did anyways, or talked about him today last week. He did not help you in fantasy football. Why? Because he was on a bye week. He's
26 points per outing.
He's doing great, man. And in one of our leagues, we had a trade. Someone traded A.J. Brown for Travis Etienne, and when I saw that, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, that's not a good trade. And now look at it. It's like it really worked out for both teams. Travis Etienne Jr.'s got 583 rushing yards to go along with 8 touchdowns, and he has been, for the Jaguars, the offensive MVP. But what we don't know is, can this offense compete with the elite teams in the NFL? Passing, rushing, total yardage down from last season, and scoring is essentially the same, less than a point per game higher. And they also added in Calvin Ridley. But Lawrence is completing 68.3% of his passes and has 9 touchdown passes. But that unit has struggled with red zone efficiency at 47.6%. They just haven't put together a complete game. Just almost like the Philadelphia Eagles, but they're reeling off wins. Hey, Eagles got 1 loss, Jaguars only 2 losses. We're going to learn a lot about the 49ers and the Jags this Sunday.
I just wanted to ask y'all one quick question. Do y'all feel like Calvin Ridley's been in the NFL forever? It feels to me like he's been in there forever, and I didn't
for a little while, but
I didn't know that because I saw something on Facebook about how Alabama had in 2017 had possibly the best team of all time, and he was part of it.
Yeah, for me, it doesn't feel like he's been there for forever necessarily, but it's also one of those things that Alabama's such a revolving door to the NFL.
Well, him missing time for the
perception versus reality.
Right,
yeah.
And then we know about that, but also him missing time for the gambling thing, I think that kind of affects it too.
Yeah, no doubt, because it's like, where was he? Where did he go? And there he is. It's Cotton Eye Joe. Stat that defined the first half, they've had a turnover in all but one of their games, and that game was a 37-17 loss to the Houston Texans. They lead the league with 18 turnovers, and that is despite the defense not having its full lineup at any point in the first half because of the injuries. We'll move on to the Houston Texans, who are 4-4. The FPI rank for them, 19. Chance to make the playoffs, 26.8%. Chance to win their division, 12.3%. What we know is that the Texans have already surpassed their win total from last year. They had 3 of those, and they're in the AFC wildcard hunt. The number 2 pick in C.J. Stroud, impressive. After 8 games, he's 3rd in yards per game at 283.8. He's 3rd in passer rating at 102.9, and he's tied for 7th in touchdown passes with 14. But what we don't know yet, is this really, and I'll let you guys answer this question, is this really a playoff quality team? They're in the 9th spot in the AFC playoff hunt, and they're tied with the Jets and the Chargers. So do you guys think that they're really a playoff quality team? I don't think so yet. I think they're fun, but I don't think they're a playoff quality team.
Well, even if they make the playoffs, I don't expect them to do a whole lot in the playoffs. So I would say no, they're not a playoff quality team. However, we've already seen some moments from C.J. Stroud, especially this past week. So it could be very exciting. It would be something maybe to see him in the playoffs. Maybe he's the kind of guy when he's actually in the playoffs and in meaningful games, prime time, he actually shows out. So it might be cool to see.
I completely defer from y'all. I think he would be amazing in the playoffs.
Well, not C.J. Stroud, the Texans.
Oh, well, yeah, I think that would be a heck of a story. Because, the Texans go from daggum near terrible to, great. Kind of like the Bengals with Joe Burrow,
Yeah, that's a good point, man. C.J. Stroud is definitely put on. Kyle Albrant with a comment here. Corso is 14-6 when picking the Gator headgear. That being said, he needs to retire at this point. We will talk more about that as I guess we finish the season and we'll play the game. Will Lee Corso be back next year? The stat that defines the Houston Texans, they have the 6th best turnover differential. They're +5 and the fewest giveaways with with just 5, and I believe one of those is an interception from C.J. Stroud, which is extremely impressive. The Kansas City Chiefs over to the AFC West. Their FPI rank, of course, number 1. Chance to make the playoffs, 98.8%, and the chance to win their division, 90.4%. What we know, they're better defensively than they've been since Mahomes took over in 2018. They also have allowed more, they've only allowed more than 20 points twice this season. But what we don't know, and I think this one's easy to answer, is the wide receiving core. The wide receivers that they were counting on in Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, they haven't produced very much at all. But Mahomes is on pace for the worst full season passer rating of his career at 96.7. The stat that defined the first half for the Chiefs, they're allowing 15.9 points per game. That's the team's best through 9 games since the Chiefs started 9-0 in 2013. Second in that division is the Los Angeles Chargers, who are 4-4. They rank number 8th in the FPI. Their chances to make the playoffs are 50.1%, and their chance to win the division should be 0, but it's 9.4%. They can't run the ball. That's what we know. They rushed for 233 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first game of the season. Then the Chargers' rushing offense has stalled. They're averaging 82.2 yards per game since week 1, and they're 22nd in the league in total rushing yards at 809.
I would say the rushing game, you said we know they can't rush the ball. I don't know that's 100% true. I think it might be the coaching and the play calling.
Well, end result here is we're talking about the numbers.
Right, I feel you with the numbers, but I'm just saying the overall.
I'm with you. Well, a lot of that has to do with the lack of Austin Eckler for a little while due to injury. Can they run the ball? Sure, I think we could say that about every team to some extent, but the Chargers do have a better offensive line, and I'm with you. If you got Austin Eckler, you should be making something happen with that. But also maybe the lack of Mike Williams, maybe the lack of now Josh Palmer affects what they can do with the pass game, so teams can key in on the run game just a little bit more. And also, I mean, I know it's on the non-throwing hand, but that middle finger there for Justin Herbert has to play some sort of a role, even if it's just handing off, and how confident they feel how many times he can continue to throw that middle finger into the belly of Austin Eckler. What we don't know yet, this is something I'm waiting for, have been waiting for, the wide receiver from TCU, Quentin Johnston. Will he emerge as a consistent contributor? Fantasy, he hasn't yet, and really on the field, he hasn't yet. That's a little different with wide receivers, right? A quarterback can be doing great, and he doesn't got to have a lot of fantasy points, whereas a wide receiver, if he's contributing to the team in a good way, and he's a top-notch wide receiver, 1 or 2, then you'll see that from the fantasy side of things. A stat that defined the first half for the Los Angeles Chargers is that they're allowing the most passing yards per game in the NFL at 286 yards per game. They've allowed just 718 yards running this season, which is good for 6th best in the NFL. Their worst performance this season came back in Week 7 against the Chiefs. Mahomes threw for 321 yards in the first half, and that was his most in a half this season. Most quarterbacks can't even get that in a game. The Philadelphia Eagles, we're to the NFC now on the eastern side of things. The FPI ranks 7. Their chance to make the playoffs, more than 99.9%. So
they're in
100%. Chance to win their division, 86.3%. I like that to be a little bit stronger as well. What we know is that they're an all-around great football team, and Hurts, even with that left knee being a little bit hobbled, is in the MVP conversation. The last NFC team, you're going to like this stat, Caveman, the last NFC team to lose the Super Bowl and return to the game the following year was the 1974 Vikings, and Philadelphia is on a mission to be the first team to do that since 1974. But what we don't know is, will the secondary stabilize over the second half of the season? They've had injuries that led to a rotating cast at safety and the cornerback in the slot, and that's taken its toll. Injuries play a huge role in this game. The Eagles ranked 29th in pass defense, giving up 257 yards per game, and they're tied for the second most passing touchdowns with 19. Here's the stat that defined the first half for the Eagles: 6. The number of consecutive games that A.J. Brown posted 125 plus receiving yards, which is an NFL record. It took him 9 games to get over the 1K yard mark, which is a first in franchise history. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith are making life good for Jalen Hurts. And over the past 2 games, Hurts has a 92% completion rate with 5 touchdowns, no interceptions when he's targeting his top 2 wide receivers.
Missing Dallas Goedert, I think, is going to hurt for a little while. Obviously, you said, he's got the knee. He's a little hobbled, Jalen Hurts, but I don't think that's going to matter. We have a good offensive line. He has time. The only thing I would say is maybe, cut down on the brotherly shove a little bit, to make sure that he doesn't get that knee tweaked anymore. Outside of that, you did mention earlier, I don't think we still have played a full 60-minute game, and look at our record, so that just bodes well for us. If we can finally get it all together and start clicking, look out.
I'm going to just go to the stat that defined the first half for each team since we're running out of time. We've got picks to make. We've got local news to recap. The Cowboys 5-3, the stat that defined their first half, 44% red zone success. They led the NFL in red zone percentage last season, and now the Cowboys are 29th here in 2023. They're tied for 31st in goal-to-go scenarios at 50%, better than only Denver. Their recent loss to Philly epitomized those issues because they got to the 6-yard line, 27 seconds left on the clock, and they couldn't score a touchdown. They can drive the ball, 6.4 plays per drive, which is good for number 2 in the league, but they have to finish drives with touchdowns. You got to be more like the Bengals and less like the Cowboys. The Lions, stat that defined their first half. They've won 3 consecutive home games by 12 or more points for the first time since 1997. Ford Field has been a real advantage this year for them, and it goes by way of showing they sold out for the first time in a long time. Goff's thrown a touchdown pass in 17 straight home games, which is a record for the Lions, franchise record. The Lions also recorded their first victory on Monday Night Football since 2014 in Week 8, where they beat the Raiders at home. According to Vivid Seats, the average cost of a ticket to that game was $252 on the secondary market, making it the hottest Lions ticket in the past 15 years. Talking about the Lions versus Raiders Monday Night Football. Good stuff there for the Lions. The Vikings, stat that defined the first half. In starting the season 1-4, the Vikings compiled the NFL's worst turnover margin. They were -9. Opponents scored the 5th most points off those turnovers with 37. Since then, the Vikings are tied for the NFL's 3rd best turnover ratio at +4, and their offense leads the league in points off turnovers. 4 more teams, stick with me here. The Saints, stat that defined their first half, the Saints are 28th in red zone efficiency. Scoring touchdowns at 45.5% of the time, despite improvement in the past 3 games. They're ranked 15th.
We suck.
Well, there you go. You heard it here first from Travis. For the Falcons, they lead the league with 7 fumbles lost, 11 lost turnovers. Those are not good numbers. One of 3 teams with more than 10 turnovers, going along with the Bears and the Arizona Cardinals. Atlanta also leads the league with 4 red zone turnovers, 3 fumbles, 1 interception, and 3 of those came in a game that they won against Tampa Bay. For the 49ers, the stat that defined their first half, the 49ers had just 2 turnovers, tied for the second fewest in the NFL, and a league best +7 turnover margin in their first 5 games, which they won all of those. In their past 3, they have 7 giveaways and are -3 in turnover differential. And for the Seahawks rank 30th in 3rd down conversion rate, both on offense and on defense. They're allowing opponents to convert 45.3% of the time, and after a 1-for-12 showing in their blowout loss to Baltimore, they're converting on only 31.9% of their chances. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll be making our picks for the weekend when we return.
Take ESPN Northwest Florida with you everywhere you go.
Anytime, anyplace, anywhere.
The sports talk and live play-by-play doesn't have to end when you get out of the car. The ESPN Northwest Florida app streams your favorite sports talk hosts and the biggest games in ultra-high fidelity.
This is of utmost importance in travel.
Take the sports talk monster with you anywhere you go. Available for Android and iPhone.
Use it anywhere or any place.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, a variety of very light rain and mostly clouds, and a low of 66 with wind 1 to 5 miles per hour. Light sprinkles tomorrow morning, a gentle breeze, and hot near 77. Mostly cloudy and 78 in the afternoon and evening. 71 and clouds with a gentle breeze Sunday. Monday, mostly clouds and a temperature about the same at 69. This is your Friday's weather brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Sports fans, we love our teams, but let's talk real estate for a moment. Meet Berg Title, your trusted local real estate title and escrow company. Based in downtown Panama City, Berg Title knows the community inside out. They handle everything from title searches to escrow services with expertise. Honest, reliable, and here to make your real estate journey smooth. Remember, it's Berg Title. Call them at 850-250-2900. That's Berg Title, your partner for a worry-free real estate experience in Panama City and Panama City Beach.
Hello, this is Rick Vossen with RV of Panama City, your local Stormore portable building dealer, located at 2241 East Baldwin Road. Shopping for a garage, portable building, cabin? We build them anywhere from 8 to 16 foot wide, 10 feet to 60 feet long. We can do insulation, electricity, transom dormers, thermal windows. Come, let's customize a building together. Rick Vossen, Stormore Portable Building Dealer, Panama City.
It moves fast. The High School Spotlight. Weekdays at 5:40.
Let's do it.
Sponsored by Barbaritos. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Back in the doghouse, riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. We've got Caveman Rick, Travis, and the Bone Crusher. I'm David Hayes, and this is the Afternoon Underdogs. And you're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 Panama City, 101.9 Port St. Joe. This is the local recap brought to you by Barbaritos, food, community, people. Visit Barbaritos on 23rd Street. Tell them that the Underdogs sent you. And JUCO boys basketball, South Georgia Tech falls to Gulf Coast 76-59. And high school girls soccer, South Walton blanks Arnold 8-0. In high school boys soccer, Community Christian beats Franklin 5-1. McClay draws with South Walton at 1. Chipola head baseball coach Jeff Johnson was inducted into the 62nd class of the Florida Sports Hall of Fame. That was Wednesday night over there in Jacksonville. He was one of 7 new members inducted alongside Leroy Butler, Vince Carter, Tom Coughlin, Greg Coleman, Elaine Larson, and Shannon Miller. So great stuff there. Congratulations to Chipola's head baseball coach and Jeff Johnson. And again, happy Veterans Day to all of those who served. Without you guys, we would not be able to enjoy all of the freedoms that we have, regardless of what people want to say. Oh, it's this, it's that. Dude, like, compared to some other countries out there, man, we are a very free people, and you have a lot more opportunities here, and it would not have happened without the sacrifices that we got from all who have served. So
Gives you goosebumps talking about that kind of stuff.
It really does.
It does,
man.
for me anyway.
Yeah, especially when you get like the stories from Caveman Rick talking about his grandparents and what they had to go through, and the reality versus the perception of how we think things went down there at Normandy and what really happened. And unless you were there and saw it with your 2 eyeballs, like what Caveman Rick, the severity of how he probably views it or perceives it is 1% of the carnage that actually went down.
Yeah,
called in. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, not to mention, when Private Ryan came out, I mentioned that earlier, the News Herald did a story on my great-grandfather Crum about, what he's seen. And he told that reporter/interviewer things that, like, my grandmother's never heard because it was so bad, and so horrific, stuff he just never talked about.
Yeah.
Well, I called in not too long ago. I don't remember if it was on here, the Inside Drive, but my grandfather was in World War II on a destroyer that got hit while they were eating dinner by a kamikaze. They hitting the rear of the boat. Forgive me for not using the correct term.
Yeah,
but he survived, obviously, and he said he would tell me stories about it. He said some of them saw it just come on down. There wasn't nothing they could do about it.
Oh, that's got to be a helpless feeling, which just goes to show the courage and strength that those men had laying there or sacrificing their lives for us. All right, we're going to get into our college football picks. Bone Crusher, you participating or are you busy? We'll get to
I want my participation ribbon.
There we go. All right.
I'm going to have to turn on my headphones because these are turned way down. And
turn it up some.
All right, hold on to your ears.
All right. We're good to go over this way. Number 3, Michigan at 10. Number 10, Penn State. Penn State's a 4.5-point favorite. Total sitting at 45.5. They'll kick this one off at 11 a.m. This will not be on our air. Jim Harbaugh will not be on the sidelines. Let's kind of move briefly through some of these to make sure we can get them all in. I'm going to go ahead and take Penn State for the upset in this game, and I was doing that before I found out about the news of Jim Harbaugh.
Same here. I was thinking about taking Penn State before the news, and now with the news of Harbaugh, it's going to be a lot easier to take Penn State.
I got Penn State. Oh.
Go ahead, Bone Crusher.
Who's that voice in your ear?
You got Michigan?
I do.
All right. What you got, Travis?
I got Penn State after the Harbaugh stuff.
All right. We'll move on to FSU hosting Miami. FSU's a 14.5-point favorite. Total sitting at 50. I'm going to go ahead and roll with the Tribe here.
Yeah, where do I live? Well, both of these are in Florida, but I'm going to take FSU. But I think Miami has a chance of winning this game.
Bone Crusher.
FSU, but wouldn't it be fun if Miami pulled this one off?
Oh man, there would be a lot of trash talk, and it would be really good for Monday.
Yeah.
Come Monday would be great because the Miami fans would be calling in, and the Florida State fans might want to hide for a little bit, and then the Louisville fans would come in, especially when AG's hosting, and then boss man Randy Williams would be like, ah ha 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 ha. Yeah, exactly. Travis.
I as much as I hate to say this, I am going for FSU because I want them to lose at the end of the year.
All right. 18, the final game of the regular season between the Florida Gators and the Florida State Seminoles. Number 18, Utah is on the road taking on the fifth ranked team in Washington. I like Washington in this game. I think the defense for Utah is strong for sure, but the offense won't be able to keep up.
Yeah, same thing here. Michael Penix in Washington's offense is going to score. Give me Washington at home.
Bone Crusher?
Washington.
It's a sweep. Get your brooms out. Rutgers at number 22, Iowa. Iowa's a 1-point favorite. Total sitting at 29. They'll kick this one off at 2:30. What do you got there, Caveman?
Hey, man, New Jersey State, Rutgers. They've been playing pretty good this season. Iowa, they can't score any points. Give me New Jersey State, Rutgers all day.
I got Rutgers as well.
Iowa at home.
So it looks like it's going to be 3 out of 1. I thought I was going to be one of the lone ones. I'm not surprised Caveman took Rutgers because of his connections there with his grandparents and whatnot. I'm going with Rutgers as well there. We'll move on to an SEC battle. Number 13, Tennessee at number 14, Missouri. Missouri's a 1-point dog at the house. Total sitting at 58.5. Rick, you want to start this one off?
Yeah, give me Missouri at the house. They've been a tough team to play against this year. The beasts of the East. Missouri all day.
BC?
When I first moved to Knoxville, Tennessee, there was so much orange there. I thought everyone was like doing community service from prison.
I thought they worked at the DOT.
Yeah. But I'm going to give Tennessee the win here.
I'm going to go the same direction there. I'm going to take Tennessee here at the house. What about for you, Travis?
Missouri wins.
All right. And you had Rutgers in that previous game, right?
I did have Rutgers,
All right. We'll move on to the next game, which is going to be right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Coverage starting at 2, and the kick will happen at 3 p.m. Auburn at Arkansas. Arkansas comes in as a 3-point favorite. Total sitting at 48.5. I'm going to go ahead and take the Razorbacks, KJ Jefferson, and Sam Pittman in this game.
Yeah, this one's kind of tough. Arkansas will probably win this one, but for some reason, I just think Auburn's going to do it. The spread's pretty close. Give me Auburn.
War Eagle.
Auburn.
All right, we'll move on to Ole Miss, Georgia. This is a game that Brian Haddad, who does the show with the Afternoon Underdogs Mondays, and he called it from the beginning of the season. Ole Miss over Georgia. That's going to be the game to watch. Number 9, Ole Miss on the road, taking on number 2, Georgia, between the hedges. They're an 11-point favorite, total sitting at 59, and this game will follow the Auburn-Arkansas game right here on our air. I would love to see Ole Miss pull off the upset here. I don't think it's going to happen. Georgia proves to be too strong in the fourth quarter. I'll take the Dogs.
Yeah, I'm going with the Dogs, man. Philly, Eagle, South. I think they'll take him down. Like John said, what was it last week? After the win, ring the bell and go get some tacos?
Yeah. Heck yeah. They were going to go down to the Nowhere Bar. They were going to go down to the Georgia Theater and watch Widespread Panic play. And I tell you what, Brian Haddock, I think he spent too many years in the pool, and all that chlorine has gone to his brain because there's no way the Dogs are losing.
That's a promo for the weekend.
Yeah. Hurt that up.
Promo. What you got?
Well, I got a few choice words for Georgia I can't say on here, but I hope Lane Kiffin says it for me. I'm going Ole Miss.
All right, I like that one too. West Virginia at number 17. Oklahoma 13-point favorite. Total sitting at 58. They'll kick this one off at 6 p.m. Sooner than later, Oklahoma's got to get it going again because the last 2 weeks haven't been that great for them. I'll take Boomer Sooner.
I don't know about that. West Virginia seems to like messing up a lot of people's schedules and like likes to play spoilers. So for whatever reason, give me West Virginia.
I'm going to take West Virginia too because Oklahoma's not been doing very good.
Oklahoma.
I like it. We split there. Florida at number 19, LSU. Now, if you want to be one of the people that have already done this and taken LSU, but if Jaden Daniels doesn't play, then you transfer your pick over to Florida, then just put a little asterisk beside it. I'm going to take LSU in either way here. Jaden Daniels or Nussmeier. I'm just going to go off on a limb, and I'll take the Tigers of LSU.
What's the spread?
13.5.
Yeah, same thing here, man. It's LSU. It's going to be at night. It's Death Valley. Florida's not that great. Jaden Daniels or not, give me LSU.
Upset of the week on my book, Florida.
I like it.
Well, unfortunately, I'd like to call an upset, but give me Florida on the points, but for sure LSU I think is going to take this.
All right, so you're taking LSU there, and then our final game, and this one will also be on ESPN Northwest Florida, and the coverage for this one will start at 9:30 or after the Bulldogs and Rebels game, and it'll be going to the wee early hours of the morning on Sunday morning. USC at number 6, Oregon. Oregon's a 15-point favorite. The total's pretty high here at 73.5. I've got Oregon all day, and I do believe they'll cover that 15.
Yeah, man, this is kind of, I don't want to say it's tough. USC, though, I can see them maybe upsetting Oregon, just playing spoiler, but you got to give me Oregon at home.
I'm going to stay up past my bedtime for this game, and I'm going to take the Ducks.
Quack.
USC it needs a win here, and I think Caleb is definitely going to need a win here. I'm going to go USC.
All right, there you go. We'll move to the NFL here. All of these games will be here on ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll kick it off at 8 in the morning for the quadruple header there in the NFL. Colts at the Patriots. Coverage starts at 8. Kickoff at 8:30. And this is in Germany as well. I've got the Colts.
Game is in Frankfurt, Germany. Give me the Patriots, though. Bill Belichick's got a really good record against rookie head coaches, so why not in this game? He beats the Colts and Shane Steichen.
Wouldn't be surprised at all. Bone Crusher.
Colts.
Belichick needs to win. I heard something about maybe he was on a hot seat. I'm taking the Patriots.
All right, we'll move on to the second game, and this will follow that first game. 49ers at the Jaguars. I've got the Niners here. They're on a 3-game losing streak. I think they break that here.
Yeah, same here. The Niners need this game bad, and if they lose this one, they might just be done for the season as far as like winning a championship goes. So give me the 49ers.
Jags.
This is hard, but I'm going with the 49ers. Chase Young's going to give old Trevor a hard time.
Yeah, that's the sad part about this game. One of these next two games, this one or the next game we talk about, should have been flexed into Sunday Night Football and possibly into Monday Night Football as well. What is the NFL doing anyways? Lions at the Chargers follows the 49ers and the Jaguars on our air. Who do you got, Caveman Rick, the Lions or the Chargers?
This one's kind of tough, but give me the Lions. They've been playing a lot better than Chargers. Staley doesn't know how to call plays. Herbert's got the broke finger. Lions.
It's not tough for me at all, Lions.
All right, I am going with the Chargers. There's been a trend this year where that team that everyone's all on, which is 82% of the money, they're all on the Lions. I like the Chargers in this game. Jets at the Raiders on Sunday Night Football. Coverage starts at 6:30, kickoff at 7:20.
Give me the Jets with that defense taking out the Raiders.
Jets.
Aaron Rodgers off the bench for the Jets.
I like it, man. There's a side of me that wants to take the Jets, but something about the Raiders when they get rid of their head coach and just take the interim head coach and they work out well. Broncos at the Bills, Monday Night Football, coverage starting at 6:30 and the kick at 7:15. Who do you got, Caveman?
I got the Bills. They need this. If they lose, it's over.
Broncos.
I'm going to go crazy and go Broncos.
All right. I'm going to take the Bills, but I ain't going to be surprised if the Broncos end up winning. That is going to do it for us this week. You guys have a great weekend. Keep it locked into ESPN Northwest Florida. Get back here Monday morning at 7 a.m. for the Coach James Hale Show. Then at 11 a.m., it'll be Ryan Mulvey, Jay Henley, The Inside Drive, and me and Brian Haddad and Bone Crusher will be back Monday at 4 for the Afternoon Underdogs. Just remember, Jesus loves you, and so do I.
Yeah.
Northwest Florida is your home for the NFL.
Touchdown, Denver!
We bring you the biggest games every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday night.
Oh, he's got the first down!
Plus, we'll broadcast more college football games than ever before.
He did what?
Live NFL and college football play here.
Unbelievable!
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, a variety of very light rain and mostly clouds and a low of 66 with wind 1 to 5 miles per hour. Light sprinkles tomorrow morning, a gentle breeze and hot near 77. Mostly cloudy and 78 in the afternoon and evening. 71 and clouds with a gentle breeze Sunday. Monday, mostly clouds and a temperature about the same at 69. This is your Friday's weather brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Kitchen Designs Group is excited to announce their new location, 7934 Front Beach Road, Panama City Beach. They offer full-service kitchen and bathroom cabinetry, countertops, and flooring. Plus, they also offer cash and carry. Take your cabinets home today. Let Claudia and Marshall help make your dreams of a new kitchen or bathroom come true. Call Kitchen Designs Group, 850-775-4150 to schedule your free consultation or visit their website, kitchendesignsgroup.com. Cash and carry only applies to the Shaker White.
Now open Saturdays, 9 to 2.
Your biggest investment is your home. Protect it while also improving its appearance with Earthworks of Northwest Florida. We have sand, mulch, gravel, or lay down decorative stone, all available for pickup and delivery. Discover your dream landscape with Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Imagine the moment you proudly pull up to your home that you've worked so hard for, enhanced by quality mulch, decorative stones, and more. Let's make it